sa China biglang tumilapon patungo sa bangin.
Nakaligtas naman kaya ang biker mula sa hindi inaasahang trahedya. Ang mga detalye po ng balita niyan ating aalamin maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Miyerkules.
Status of Forces Agreement pirmado na ng Pilipinas at ng New Zealand.
China pinatawag ang ambassador ng Pilipinas sa Beijing dahil sa issue sa Taiwan.
South Korean prosecutors ni-raid ang bahay ni former President Yoon Suk-yeol.
Hanoi pinagdiwang ang ika-50 taong anibersaryo ng pagtatapos ng Vietnam War.
At sa Shenzhou 19 crew pabalik na sa Earth. Pirmado na ng Pilipinas at ng New Zealand ang Status of Forces Agreement o SOVFA, isang mahalagang defense pact na magiging daan para makapagsagawa ng joint military drills ang dalawang bansa.
Nilagdaan ang nasabing defense pact kasunod ng courtesy call ni New Zealand Defense Minister Judith Collins sa Malacanang. Parehong lumagda sina Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. at Collins sa kasunduan na sinaksihan ng personal ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Ayon kay Collins, ang SOVFA ay bubuo sa legal framework para sa military engagements ng Pilipinas at ng New Zealand. Tulad sa Visiting Forces Agreement sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos, pinapayagan ng SOVFA ang temporary visits ng tropa ng New Zealand sa Maynila para sumali sa mga joint trainings at exercises ng Pilipinas.
Good news naman dahil may libreng sakay ang mga tren simula ngayong araw hanggang May 3. Mismo si Paulo Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang nag-utos na magkaroon ng libreng sakay sa Metro Rail Transit Line 3, Light Rail Transit Line 1 at 2 bilang pagdiriwang ng Labor Day sa May 1. Layo ng hakbang na ito na kilalanin anya ang kontribusyon ng mga manggagawa hindi lamang sa ekonomiya kundi sa ating lipunan.
Kaya nais ko sabihin sa lahat ng ating mga commuter ay inutos ko na para magbigay ng ating konting parangal sa ating mga magnagawa. Labor Day celebration ay maging libre ang sakay sa MRT 3, LRT 1 and 2. Ito ay mula April 30 hanggang May 3. Ito ay bilang counting pagkilala sa sakripisyo at ang kontribusyon ng ating mga magnagawa hindi lamang sa ating ekonomiya kundi sa ating lipunan.
Nasa 216,144 job openings ang iaalok ng Department of Labor and Employment o DOLE sa job fairs na gaganapin sa Labor Day o May 1. Yan po'y bukas. Ayon kay Labor Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma, may 69 job fair sites sa buong bansa kung saan 14 ang nasa National Capital Region. Samantala, may mahigit 34,000 na mga overseas job opportunities ang iaalok sa naturang job fair. Makikilahok din dito ang mga kilalang kumpanya sa bansa sa sektor ng retail, food services at hotel. Inaasahan naman ng DOLE na madaragdagan pa ang mga available na vacancies bago ang Labor Day.
Muling nagpaalala ang Department of Labor and Employment o DOLE sa mga employer ng mga pribadong mga kumpanya sa wasong pagpapasahod dito sa mga empleyadong papasok sa May 1. Ayon sa ibinabang guidelines ng Labor Department, ang mga empleyadong magre-report o papasok bukas ay entitled na makatanggap ng double pay. Batay sa Proclamation No. 727 ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., ang May 1 o Labor Day ay idineklara bilang regular holiday. Ibig po sabihin niyan, kahit ang empleyado sa pribadong kumpanya ay hindi pumasok ay makatatanggap pa rin ng 100% ng kanilang sahod sa araw na ito, subalit sa kondisyon na dapat pumasok ito bago ang araw ng naturang regular holiday.
Binigyan din ni Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro na walang direktang komunikasyon ng Malacanang sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Ito'y matapos ibunyag ni na Vice President Sara Duterte at Senadora Amy Marcos na may nakita silang listahan ng mga taong posibleng ipaaresto umano ng ICC. Kaugnay pa rin ito ng kaso ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa nasabing korte. Kasama rin sa listahan daw sina Senator Ronald Obato de la Rosa, dating PNP Chief Albayalde, dating Police General na si Danao Maging, sina Police General Karamat at Senador Bongo. Ngunit tiniyak ni Yusek Castro na walang impormasyon ng Malacanang patungkol sa umano'y ICC arrest order list at itinuro na lamang na kumuha ng impormasyon kina VP Sara.
We're not dealing directly with the ICC. Kung meron pong katanungan patungkol po dyan, mas maganda po kung makikipag-usap sila sa ICC. Kung saan po nakuha ng Vice Presidente ang kanilang impormasyon, mas mabuti po sana kung sa kanila kukunin. Dahil sa panahon po ngayon, wala po kami masasabi patungkol po dyan.
Handang sagutin ni Philippine National Police o PNP Chief General Romel Marbil at CIDG Director Major General Nicolas Torre III ang mga ikakaso sa kanila dahil sa pag-aresto kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Kasunod ito ng panawagan ni Presidential Sister at Senadora Amy Marcos sa Office of the Ombudsman na imbestigahan sina Marbil, Torre at ilan pang opisyal ng gobyerno. Nanindigan si Senadora Amy na may mga nilabag umano ang mga nasabing opisyal sa pag-aresto at paglipat kay Duterte sa detention facility ng International Criminal Court sa The Hague, the Netherlands. Ayon kay PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Fajardo, naniniwala sina Marbil na kumilos sila alinsunod sa batas at mandato ng kanilang katungkulan. Muli rin iginiit ni Fajardo na ang papel ng PNP sa pag-aresto kay Duterte ay dahil nagpaabot lamang ang kapulisan ng tulong sa Philippine Center for Transnational Crimes na ipatupad ang inisyong red notice laban sa dating Pangulo. Pinatawag naman ng Beijing sa Philippine Ambassador to China Jaime Flor Cruz. Kaugnay po yan sa naging desisyon ng Pilipinas na luwagan ng restriksyon sa mga opisyal ng gobyerno na bumabiyahe sa Taiwan para isulong ang economic at trade relations. Ayon sa ulat ng Chinese state-run media, sinabi ng Chinese Foreign Ministry na nababahala sila sa negatibong hakbang ng Pilipinas na luwagan ng travel restrictions sa mga Philippine government officials patungong Taiwan. Anila, makakabiyahe sila sa Taiwan gamit ang mga ordinaryong pasaporte nang walang approval mula sa Foreign Ministry ng Pilipinas. Tutol kasi ang China sa anumang opisyal na interaksyon sa pagitan ng Taiwan at ibang bansa na may diplomatic ties sa Beijing. Hinimok din ang Chinese Embassy sa Pilipinas sa Manila na sundin ang One China Principle at tigilan na ang anumang pakikipag-ugnayan nito sa mga Taiwan authorities. Subalit, binigyan din naman ni Foreign Affairs spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza na ipagpapatuloy ng Pilipinas at China na magpalitan ng pananaw hinggil sa Taiwan issue at iba pang mga usapin. Bukas anya ang linya ng komunikasyon nito sa Beijing sa pamamagitan ng diplomatic channels.
Susunod, bahay ni impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol ni-raid.
Vietnam, may pinagdiwang ang 50 years of peace and unity.
At Russia ay binasura ang apela ng Ukraine sa ceasefire. Manatili pong nakatutok, magbabalik pa ang mata ng Agila International.
Trask Construction, your trusted partner.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Pinag-utos ni North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ang pagpaparami pa ng nuclear armament ng kanilang Navy vessel. Ginawa ni Kim ang direktiba matapos niyang saksihan ang unang araw ng two-day weapons test ng bagong destroyer ng North Korea na Choe Hyun. Base sa report mula sa state-run media, dumating na anya ang oras para gumawa ng responsableng opsyon para mapataas pa ang nuclear armament ng kanilang Navy para depensahan ang Estado at maritime sovereignty nito mula sa mga banta sa kasalukuyan at sa hinaharap. Nauna nang iniulat ng state media noong Sabado ang paglulunsad ng bagong destroyer kung saan dinaluhan ito ni North Korean leader Kim kasama ang kanyang anak na babae na si Jue na kinokonsiderang maging o ng maraming eksperto na posibleng maging successor niya. Hango naman ang pangalan ng naturang barkong pandigma sa yumaong North Korean anti-Japanese fighter at may bigat itong 5,000 tons na inabot ng mahigit isang taon para maipatayo.
6 na raang sundalo ang napatay habang nasa 4,000 sundalo na North Korea ang sugatan sa pakikipaglaban para sa Russia. Ayon sa intelligence agency ng South Korea, nag-deploy ang Pyongyang ng 15,000 sundalo upang tulungan ang Moscow sa pakikipagdigma nito sa Kyiv. Nagkaroon din nila ng improvement sa pakikidigma ang mga sundalo ng North Korea. Dagdag na Seoul, marunong na rin gumamit ng modernong armas kagaya ng drones sa mga sundalo ng Pyongyang. Batay sa ilan pang mga ulat, binigyan ng technical assistance, anti-air missiles and submarine technology ng Russia ang North Korea kapalit ng tulong nito sa Moscow-Kyiv war.
Nagsagawa ng search operation sa bahay ni impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol at ng kanyang asawa. Ito ay kasunod ng mga aligasyon laban sa former first couple katulad ng influence peddling at backroom deals. Tumestigo sa nasabing reklamo si John Song-bae na umain bilang fixer sa mga negosasyon na kasama ang former first couple. Kabilang sa kanyang pahayag ang nawawalang 60 million won na diamond necklace para sa former First Lady Kim Kyun-hee na ayon sa kanya ay galing sa isang dating church official. Dinetalya rin ng testigo ang pag-abot sa kanya ng luxury bags na para rin kay Kyun-hee. Natagpuan din sa bahay ni John ang 50 million won banknotes na may Bank of Korea seal na binibigay lamang sa high-level officials katulad ng Office of the President. Nilinaw ng mga otoridad na ang naganap na raid ay hindi konektado sa kamakailang impeachment ng dating Pangulo. Tinuturing din na historical ang nasabing operasyon dahil ito ang pinakaunang pagkakataon na pinayagan ng hukuman na mag-raid sa isang former president.
Ipinagdiwang sa Ho Chi Minh City ang ika-50 anibersaryo ng pagkatapos ng Vietnam War. Nagbuo rin sila ng isang formation of its modern nation kasama ng parada ng kanilang militar na nakatuon sa mapayapang kinabukasan. Minarkahan nila ang araw na ito sa pagkatapos ng paghati ng kanilang bansa ng dating North and U.S. Allied South. Nagkampo ang libo-libong mamamayan sa dating kabisera ng South Korea na pinilitan ng Ho Chi Minh City matapos itong bumagsak sa North Vietnamese at Viet Cong troops. Marami ang gumala sa lansangan buong maghapon habang nagtatayo ng picnics at naghihintay para sa drone and fireworks show sa gabi. Binasura naman ng Russia ang hirit ni Ukrainian na President Volodymyr Zelensky na dapat palawigin nila ng isang buwan ang unang ipatutupad na 3 araw na ceasefire.
Прямой контакт на высшем уровне всегда эффективен и всегда помогает урегулировать те шероховатости, которые могут возникать на рабочем уровне, на экспертном уровне. При необходимости этот прямой контакт будет установлен. Мы имеем все необходимые каналы для диалога с Соединенным Штатом. Они уже восстановлены, поэтому процесс продолжается, он идет. Идет очень напряженная работа. Процесс урегулирования продолжается. Президент Путин имеет главную цель – это достичь тех целей, которые он ставил, начиная специальную военную операцию. Мы должны обеспечить наши национальные интересы. Является ли предпочтительным достичь эти цели миром? Да. И изначально президент, собственно, пытался достичь эти цели миром.
Sinabi ni Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov na mahirap na pumasok ng 30 days na ceasefire hanggat sa marami pang mga katanungan na dapat sagutin. Una narito ay sinabi ni Zelensky na isang manipulation umano ni Russian President Vladimir Putin ang 3 araw na ceasefire mula May 8 hanggang May 10.
Ми ще 11 березня відповіли позитивно на саме американську пропозицію повної тиші. Ми запропонували своє у двосторонньому порядку Росії припинити удари щонайменше по цивільних об'єктах, хоча б по них. Запропонували також зробити повним і продовжувати на 30 днів припинення вогню на Великдень. Росія постійно все це відкидає і маніпулює світом. Намагається обманути Сполучені Штати.
Ang nasabing ceasefire kasi ay isinabay sa 80th anniversary ng pagkawagi ng Russia sa Nazi Germany noong World War II. Magugunitang nawawalan na ng gana ang US sa tagal ng pagkakaroon ng ceasefire sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa.
Sinimula ng Russia at North Korea ang pagtatayo ng isang tulay sa ibabaw ng Tumen River. Ang ilog na ito ay nasa pagitan ng dalawang bansa. Bahagian nila ito ng kanilang pagsisikap na palakasin ang strategic partnership ng Moscow at Pyongyang. Ang bagong tulay ay itatayo malapit sa Friendship Bridge, isang tulay ng tren na kinumisyon noong taong 1959 pagkatapos ng Korean War.
이러한 계획들 중에서도 서로 두 나라 인민들이 오래전부터 바라고 반기던 일, 서로 사이의 다방면적인 교류와 경제적 연계 발전을 힘있게 주동하는 데서 실질적이고도 중대한 우위를 가지는 사업으로 되는 조로 국경 자동차 다리 건설의 착공을 드디어 선포하게 된다는 사실은 우리 모두를 매우 기쁘게 하여 주고 있습니다.
Sa pagbubukas ng Israeli Memorial Day, nangako naman si Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu na babawiin ito ang mga bihag na hanggang ngayon ay nasa puder pa rin ng Hamas. Narito po ang mga detalye na balita niya mula kay Emmy Capilita Roja.
Noong Martes, dumalo sa pagbubukas ng Memorial Day ng Israel si Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Ito habang umaabanse ang opensiba ng Israel sa Gaza kung saan may 59 na bihag pa ang pinaniniwalaang nasa teritoryo. Ang pangunahing seremonya sa Jerusalem ay ang simula ng iba't ibang kaganapan bilang pag-alala ng mga nasawing sundalo at mga biktima ng mga pag-atake sa Israel. Susundan ito ng mga selebrasyon bilang pagkilala naman sa 77 taon ng kasarilan ng Israel. Sa seremonya, pinuri ni Netanyahu ang mga miyembro ng seguridad ng bansa at sinabing ang pagbawi sa mga bihag ay isang sagradong misyon.
מאז מתקפת שמחת תורה, טבח ה-7 באוקטובר, משרתי צה"ל וזרועות הביטחון מתגלים במלוא תפארתם. הם מסתערים על מבקשי נפשנו בכל החזיתות. הם לוחמים כאריות להשגת הניצחון. הם מוסרים את נפשם כדי ליצור את התנאים להחזרת חטופינו היקרים, שנמצאים כל הזמן לנגד עינינו. השבתם הביתה היא משימה קדושה. לא נרפה ממנה. כולם מבינים מול מי אנחנו נלחמים ועל מה אנחנו nilhamin.
Isang nagdadalamhating magulang na namatayan ng anak sa labanan sa Hilagang Gaza noong Enero ang narutya sa chairman ng NESET na si Amir Ohana. Ito ay nang banggitin ni Ohana ang pangalan ng nasawi sa unang bahagi ng kanyang talumpati. Kinausap naman ni Netanyahu ang magulang habang isinasagawa ang iba pang bahagi ng seremonya. JC Yumul para sa mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Inyo pong narinig ang ulat mula sa ating NET25 correspondent na si JC Yumul. Samantala, gagawin ng Germany ang lahat upang maiwasan ang isang open trade war. Kaya plano nitong alukin ng Estados Unidos ng zero-for-all tariffs. Si Rosel Feria para sa detalye.
Sinabi ni Friedrich Merz, Chancellor-in-Waiting ng Germany, na ayaw nitong pumasok ang Berlin sa isang open trade war kasama ang Estados Unidos at ang China. Nais-ana niyang patuloy na itaguyod ang isang open global market model na matagumpay na binuo ng Germany sa loob ng maraming dekada. Plano rin ni Merz na alukin si US President Donald Trump na magpataw ng zero sa lahat ng taripa o custom duties para sa isang mutual exchange of goods. Iminungkahi rin niya ang mutual recognition sa technological standards ng Germany at ng Estados Unidos.
Wir werden auch den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika anbieten, dass wir am besten auf Null gehen, bei allen Zollsätzen im gegenseitigen Warenaustausch. Und ich füge einen Aspekt hinzu. Was spricht eigentlich dagegen, technologische Standards in Amerika und in Europa gegenseitig so weit anzuerkennen, dass wir darauf verzichten, umfassende Prüfvorhaben, umfassende technologische Prüfungen und zu machen, bevor wir auf die jeweiligen Märkte gelangen können. Liebe Freundinnen und Freunde, wenn wir das den Amerikanern anbieten, dann kann dies eine Chance sein, aus der gegenwärtigen Handelskrise eine große Chance für Amerika und für Europa zu machen und damit der Welt zu zeigen, dass nicht Zölle, dass nicht hochgezogene Grenzen, sondern dass am Ende des Tages Freihandel und offene Märkte Wohlstand schaffen für alle, die daran beteiligt sind.
Ayon sa ilang trade analyst, posibleng mahirapan ng Germany sa plano nitong zero tariffs, lalo na at nakafocus ang administrasyon ni Trump sa pagsasaayos ng trade deficits ng Estados Unidos. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C. para sa mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Dinagsa na maraming botante sa Australia ang sinasagawang early voting sa 2025 Australian federal elections. Binuksan noong April 22 ang early voting sa general elections ng bansa kung saan may halos 2.95 million na katao na mula 18 million registered voters na ang nakaboto. Ayon po yan sa Australian Election Commission o AEC. Hindi naging hadlang ang pabugso-bugsong pag-ulan sa mga botante sa Australia upang makaboto na maaga sa polling precincts. Karamihan sa mga early voters ay may mga trabaho, nagbakasyon at mas pinili ang convenience kaysa sa pakikipagsiksikan sa mismong araw ng federal elections. Ayon sa mga eksperto, mas sikat ang maagang pagboto sa mga safe seats. Subalit, ang mga nasa marginal voters ay kadalasang bumoboto sa mga araw na malapit o hindi kaya ay sa mismong araw ng eleksyon. Inaasahan naman ng AEC na aabot sa kabuang bilang ng 3 milyong botante ang makikilahok sa nasabing early votings.
Ikinagulat at ikinalungkot ng marami ang naganap na hit-and-run attack sa Vancouver, Canada noong Sabado sa mga sibilyang nakikisaya sa isang Filipino community event doon. Bagamat nasa kustodiya na ng kapulisan ng sospek, marami pa rin ang nagtatanong kung ano na nga ba ang naging motibo nito sa pananakit na ikinamatay ng 11 katao. Tinanong ni NET25 correspondent Marjorie Quintos ang ilan sa mga taga roon. Panoorin niyo to.
Sabado, isang trahedya ang bumiko sa Vancouver nang araruhin ng isang sasakyan ang mga taong nakikisaya sa Lapu-Lapu Day. 11 ang namatay at 12 ang nasaktan. Tinanong natin ang ating mga kapitbahay at kaibigan dito sa Canada kung ano ang kanilang naging pakiramdam ukol sa insidente. Para kay Arnold Uligo na isang restaurant supervisor at vlogger sa Quebec, kulang ang mga salita para sa pagdadalamhating nararamdaman niya para sa mga apektado. Anya, panahon ito upang magsama-sama, hindi lamang sa kalungkutan, kundi pati na sa pag-usad pasulong.
The tragedy during the Lapu-Lapu Festival in Vancouver is truly devastating. It's hard to put into words the sorrow and shock that this event has brought to the community. Festivals like this are meant to be a time of joy, connection, and cultural pride. Yet it became a moment of profound grief. I can't begin to imagine the pain that the victims' families are experiencing. It is in moments like this that we must remind ourselves of the importance of standing together, not just in mourning, but in action. Let's take this moment not only to grieve, but to reflect on how we can contribute to a world where tragedies like this are prevented.
Nanawagan naman si social media sales manager Soc de Mesa sa mga Filipino community na pairalin ang pagkakaisa at pagtutulungan sa panahong tulad nito.
Sadyang nakakalungkot po ang ganitong pangyayari, lalo na ito ay isang event na dapat sana'y puno ng kasiyahan, pagkakaisa at pagdiriwang ng ating kulturang Pilipino. Isipin na lang natin ang mga batang naroroon, mga pamilya, mga volunteers, lahat biglang nagbago sa isang iglap. Hinihikayat ko po ang lahat na magpakita ng pakikiisa kahit sa simpleng pananalangin o donasyon sa mga verified na fundraising efforts para sa mga biktima sa panahon ng ganitong trahedya. Kailangan natin ang isa't isa sa kabila ng lahat. Ay naniniwala akong hindi mawawala ang diwa ng bayanihan at pagmamahalan sa ating komunidad.
Galit at sakit ang naramdaman ng welder na si Nelbert Abella sa pag-iisip na maaaring pamilya niya ang nasawi. Ani Abella, sa isang iglap, ang masasayang dumalo sa selebrasyon ay bigla na lamang namatay nang walang saysay.
Sobrang shock po, syempre. Ako nun, lalo na nung nalaman ko na may nadamay na bata. At tao pa ba yung gumawa nito? Awang-awa ko dun sa mga nadamay. Alam mo yun, yung gusto mo lang namang magsaya, maibsan yung pagod na naramdaman mo dito sa napaka-busy buhay dito sa Canada. Tapos sa isang iglap lang, wala na yung mga mahal mo sa buhay. Siyempre, na-trauma din ako kasi it could have been us, yung pamilya ko. Kung malapit lang yung event dito sa lugar namin, siguro nandun din kami. At siyempre, may takot na siguro wag muna tayong mag-attend sa ganong mga pagtitipon.
Binigyang diin ni Manny Bautista ng Edmonton ang kahalagahan ng risk assessment sa mga malakihang pagtitipon tulad ng Lapu-Lapu Day sa Vancouver.
Sa akin po ay gusto ko sanang i-suggest at i-share yung aking ideas how to prevent this kind of tragedy in the future. The first one is asking for all the Filipino event organizers and leaders na sa susunod po, every time may event tayo, kailangan may tinatawag tayong risk assessment. Pag-aralan natin ano yung importante, seguridad. Sino yung mga mamumuno sa security? Sino ang security force?
Ayon kay Stephanie Valenzuela na may pamilya at mga kaibigan din sa Vancouver, durog ang kanyang puso sa mga pangyayari.
Devastated. Heartbroken po kami. Yung buong pamilya namin, we had family in Vancouver and we are just completely heartbroken with the tragedy that took place in Vancouver, and we are sending all our love, our prayers, and our strength to the community in Vancouver.
Hindi naman makapaniwala si Al Abdon na nangyari ang ganitong klase ng krimen dito sa Canada.
Well, it's really shocking na mangyari yun dito sa Vancouver. Of all the place is Vancouver. It's a peaceful town, peaceful city, and it's supposed to be a peaceful gathering of a Philippine tradition na ginagawa natin sa mga events dito sa Montreal, sa Vancouver, sa Ontario, everywhere. But this one really it tops it most. Na I thought it only happens in the US, but also now it happens in the BC, and the worst is the Filipino community was the victim of this disastrous event.
Ayon sa kapulisan, ang mga biktima ay may edad 5 hanggang 65. Hanggang ngayon, nangaapuhat ng sagot ang mga komunidad kung bakit ang dapat sana'y masaya at pampamilyang selebrasyon ay nauwi sa inilarawang isa sa pinakamadilim na araw sa kasaysayan ng lungsod. Marjorie Quintos, Montreal, Canada, para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Bubuo ng minority government ang Canadian Liberal Party sa pangunguna ni newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Who's ready to stand up for Canada with me?
Kinapos, yan. Kinapos ang kanilang liderato sa House of Commons para makamit ang majority. 169 na napanalunan ng Liberal Party habang 144 seats naman ang napanalunan ng Conservative Opposition Party. Itinuturing na dahilan ng pagkapanalo ni Carney ang umaambang administrasyon ng Amerika sa pangunguna ni US President Donald Trump. Bukod sa mga bantaan ito sa angkinin o naangkinin ang Canada bilang 51st state na Amerika, ikinaaray na maraming mamamayan ng mga taripa na ipinataw ni Trump sa kanilang mga produkto. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang sunod-sunod na pagbabanta ni Trump ay nagdulot ng pagkakaisa sa mga Canadian voters na iboto si Carney.
Carney has experience and he can handle more easily than the Perpolye or the Conservative, so that's why I vote for him.
I think Carney is mature enough that he can sit down with Trump and not make it a confrontation. I think he'll be able to. Trump is all into deals, and I think Carney's a good person to negotiate deals with someone like Donald Trump.
Okay.
Hayagang kinundina ng bagong Canadian Prime Minister ang mga polisiya ng Trump administration mula pa sa kanyang pangangampanya.
We are fighting unjustified U.S. tariffs, including those on steel and autos with counter tariffs of our own. And those are designed to cause maximum pain in the United States, but have only a minimal impact here in Canada. We are protecting our workers and businesses because we're using every dollar that we collect from those retaliatory tariffs, and we use it to protect our workers. But above all, what we are doing is we are building Canada strong.
Kakailanganin ng Liberals ang suporta ng oposisyon para makapagpasa ng legislation at makaligtas sa no-confidence votes sa Canadian Parliament.
Susunod, 22 patay sa sunog sa restaurant sa China.
3 patay sa barilan sa Sweden.
At biker sa China muntik mahulog sa bangin. Detalye po ng mga balitang yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Ng umaga, tayo ng umindak at magsaya. Sa Lunes, abangan kami sa Barangay Abangan Sur, Marilao, Bulacan.
Sa Martes, darayo tayo sa Land of the Brave, Cavite, dyan sa Barangay 58A, Cavite City.
Sa Miyerkules, hindi tayo mababato sa Barangay Balong Bato, San Juan City.
Ngayong Huwebes, makikisaya tayo sa Barangay Buting, Pasig City.
Babalik tayo ng Bulacan sa Biyernes sa Barangay Lias, Marilao, Bulacan.
Kakatukin namin kayo at gigisingin tuwing umaga dito lang sa LTE.
Love,
Tony Pet,
and everything.
Let's get together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Matatag ang paninindigan. Matapang sa pagresponde. Matapat sa paglilingkod. Patikang tagapagbalita. Mata natin sa balitaan. Alex Santos kasama gabi-gabi sa mata ng Agila Primetime.
Matatapang na mga komentaryo.
Tingin ng masa dito, this is just actually a ploy to weed out a person who potentially can actually win in 2028.
Mga balita at impormasyong hihimayin. Kasama ang mga batikang komentarista. Sina Ali Soto.
Hindi pa ako nakakapag-umpisa kong. Dahil aminado naman kayo, kalabisan din yung ginagawa ng ibang kasama nyo dyan.
At Pat P. Daza.
Desperado na siya. There's no way na makakapasok yung kanyang slate unless patayin itong 15.
Sa ASPN. Ano sa palagay nyo? Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga, dito sa NET25.
Together sa NET25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Sumiklaw ang malaking sunog sa isang restaurant sa China na ikinamatay naman ang 22 katao. Naganap ang sunog sa residential area sa Liaoyang City sa northeastern province ng Liaoning, China. Nagliyab ang kainan sa kalagitnaan ng busy lunch hour period bandang 12:25 ng hapon. Tiniyak ni Chinese President Xi Jinping na pananagutin nito ang responsable sa sunog. Kaagad din niyang inatasan ng mga lokal na pamahalaan na dapat ayusin ang emergency response plans sa kanilang nasasakupan. Dapat din anyang magsagawa ng routine step-up checks para maibsan ang mga epekto ng nasabing insidente. Ikinulong na ng mga otoridad ang in charge sa nasabing restaurant habang patuloy ang kanilang masusing investigasyon sa insidente. Ang nangyaring sunog sa restaurant ay pinakabago sa sunod-sunod na insidente ng sunog sa China. Kamakailan ay nasunog naman ang isang nursing home sa Hebei Province na ikinamatay ng 20 katao. Pinarusahan naman ang mahigit 50 opisyal noong nakaraang taon dahil sa nangyaring sunog sa Jiangxi Province na ikinasawi ng 39 na individual.
Paalala po, iwasan natin ang paggamit ng cellphone sa daan. Dapat po ay lagi tayong alisto. Dahil sa Nanjing, Eastern China, isang construction worker ang nakaligtas sa kapahamakan ng bumagsak ang isang malaking crane mula sa itaas ng gusali. Sa kuha ng CCTV ay kitang bumagsak ang isang crane na may habang 80 talampakan mula sa ika-23 palapag ng gusali. Hindi napansin ng construction worker ang nahulog na crane dahil abala ito sa paggamit ng kanyang cellphone. Subalit nang may kable na bumagsak sa kanya ay agad siyang yumuko at nagtago sa isang sulok upang makaligtas. Sinabi rin ng mga residente na parang lumindol dahil sa lakas ng pagkakabagsak ng crane. Ayon naman sa Nanjing Traffic Police, walang nasugatan sa insidente at walang structural damage sa kalapit na gusali. Inimbestigahan na nila ngayon ang sanhi ng aksidente.
Ipinahayag ng otoridad na hindi bababa sa 3 katao ang napatay sa pamamaril sa lungsod ng Uppsala, Sweden noong Martes. Batay sa resulta ng investigasyon, itinuturing na homicide ang kaso. Iniulat ng ilang miyembro ng publiko sa pulis na nakarinig sila na malalakas sa putok sa lugar. Patuloy ang operasyon ng kanilang paghahanap sa hinihinalang salarin.
Nakaligtas ang isang biker sa China mula sa bingit ng kamatayan matapos mawalan siya ng kontrol sa kanyang bike at tumilapon patungo sa bangin. Mula sa dashcam footage makikita na mapayapang nagbibisikleta ang tatlong bikers sa Guangga, China. Subalit matapos ang ilang mga liko sa mga pakurbang daan sa kanilang biyahe ay bigla na lamang nag-flip at tumalsik sa bakod ang biker na nasa harapan ng may-ari ng video. Kinumpirma naman ni Mr. Feng ang may kuha ng video na agad silang tumigil sa pagbibisikleta para tumulong sa kanilang kasamahan. Buti na lamang at hindi gaanong malalim ang pagkakabagsak ng biker at nagtamo lamang siya ng ilang galos sa katawan.
Sa Wisconsin, USA, nagprotesta ang ilang grupo sa harap ng Federal Bureau of Investigation. Tinutulan nila ang pagkaka-aresto sa isang Milwaukee judge. Alamin po natin ang dahilan mula kay Jonah Malyari.
Noong Sabado, sa labas ng gusali ng Federal Bureau of Investigation sa Wisconsin, nagprotesta ang mga taga-suporta ni Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan laban sa pagkakaaresto ng hukom.
It was worth the drive to stand up for democracy and to let the Trump administration know that we honor the judiciary and to let the judicial system know that we expect them to uphold the Constitution. Yes. We need checks and balances in this country or we will not remain free.
This is not what we expect in this country. I'm 87 years old, and this is not the country I grew up in. We need to change it. We need to fix it.
Nagpahayag ng mensahe para kay Judge Dugan si Casey Serrano ng Milwaukee Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Anya, nasa likod mo kami.
We are out here today with a message for the FBI, for the DOJ, for President Trump himself. And that message is, drop the charges, stop the raids, stop the deportations. We are also out here with a message for Judge Hannah Dugan. And that message is, we have your back.
Inaresto si Dugan noong Biyernes at kinasuhan ng pagtulong sa isang lalaki sa kanyang korte na makaiwas sa immigration authorities. Ito ay sa gitna ng umiinit na tensyon sa pagitan ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump at mga opisyal panlokal dahil sa pagpapatupad ng batas imigrasyon. Sa isang criminal complaint, sinabi ng Justice Department na hinarangan ni Hannah Dugan, isang Milwaukee County Circuit Judge, ang immigration agents na walang judicial warrant, na arestuhin ang isang lalaki sa kanyang courtroom noong 18 ng Abril. Ayon pa sa reklamo, tinulungan ng judge ang lalaki na makaiwas sa pag-aresto nang palabasin niya ito sa isang jury door. Inaresto ng agent si Eduardo Flores Ruiz sa labas ng courthouse matapos nitong umalis kasama ang kanyang abogado. Humarap sa saglit si Dugan sa federal court sa Milwaukee upang harapin ang charges na obstructing a government proceeding and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. Pinakawala ng judge at nakatakdang magpasok ng plea sa 15 ng Mayo. Para sa mga taga-suporta ni Dugan, walang maling nagawa ang hukom.
I happen to think she's a very brave woman to do what she did and respect everything she tried to do. People think we are not near fascism, but we are. They think it can't happen here, but it can and is happening here right now. And if we don't stop it before it gets too far along, we're going to be no better than Germany was in the 30s and 40s.
There's a lot of moments when you wish you'd spoken up, and this is one time that I think we felt we needed to be here and just be part of the crowd that's saying enough is enough.
Jonna Malari para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Hindi bababa sa 4 ang nasawi kabilang ang mga bata matapos sumalpok ang isang sasakyan sa isang after-school program sa Chatham, Illinois. Sa CCTV footage na nakuha mula sa isang kalapit na tindahan, makikitang mabilis ang takbo ng sasakyan bago ito tumama sa front lobby ng gusali na nooy puno ng mga bata at staff. Ayon sa Illinois State Police, hindi pa malinaw kung sinadya o aksidente ang pagsalpok ng sasakyan. Ikinulong na ng mga pulis ang 32 taong gulang na sospek na siya ring driver ng sasakyang nabangga. Samantala, patuloy ang pagbibigay ng suporta ng publiko at lokal na pamahalaan sa mga naapektuhang pamilya at mga mag-aaral.
Still in political, yan po ang sinabi ng White House patungkol sa anunsyo ng international e-commerce and tech company na Amazon na idaragdag nito ang presyo ng taripa sa price tag ng mga produkto sa website nito. May Vanessa Gosa po para sa report.
Noong Martes, tinuligsa ni White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ang pahayag ng Amazon na ikakabit nito ang presyo ng taripa sa presyo ng mga produktong ibinibenta ng kumpanya. Ani Leavitt, ang hakbang na ito ng e-commerce giant ay political at paglaban.
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm.
Dagdag ni Leavitt, ito ang dahilan kung bakit dapat tangkilikin ng mga taga-Amerika ang mga produkto ng Amerika.
So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Ayon sa mga ulat, nagbigay tensyon sa pagitan ni Pangulong Donald Trump at Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos ang desisyon ng tech company na tukuyin sa mga mamimili ang halaga ng mga taripa. Naobserbahan din na nitong mga nakaraang buwan, simula nang maupong muli sa pwesto si Trump, tila sinusuyo ni Bezos ang pabor ng administrasyon at makailang beses nang nakipagkita sa Pangulo. Mayfen Zaragoza para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Plano ng Starbucks na magdagdag ng mas maraming barista. Nagpasya rin ang kumpanya na huwag munang ilunsad ang automation sa kanilang mga coffee shops. Ayon kay Starbucks Chief Executive Brian Nicol, nais nilang mabigyan ng mas mahusay na service at experience ang kanilang mga customer. Mas malaki anyang magagastos ng kumpanya kung dadami ang kanilang barista. Pero para sa kanya ay isa itong investment. Babaguhin din ng coffee giant ang itsura ng kanilang coffee shops at ang dress code. Magkakaroon din nila ng ilang pagbabago sa kanilang menu. Ang mga plano ito ni Nicol ay bahagi ng Starbucks strategy upang makabawi sa kanilang bumababang sales ng kape.
Inanunsyo ng China Manned Space Agency na pabalik na sa Earth ang Shenzhou 19 crew matapos ang kanilang misyon sa Tiangong Space Station. Ayon sa ahensya, lalapag ang re-entry capsule ng Shenzhou 19 crew sa Dongfeng landing site sa Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region ng China. Kabila sa crew na uuwi sa Earth ay sina Kai Shu-she, Song Lingdong at Huang Haoxie. Silang tatlo ay dumating sa Tiangong Space Station noong October 29, 2024. Mananatili naman sa space station ng China ng Shenzhou 20 crew na pinangungunahan ng tatlong taikonauts na sina Chen Dong, Chen Xionghui at Wang Ji. Inaasahang magsasagawa ng experiment sa space ang tatlo sa loob ng 6 na buwan.
Kinumpirma ng co-founder at CEO ng Duolingo na si Luis Von An na papalitan nito ang mga contract workers ng kumpanya ng mga Artificial Intelligence o AI. Ayon kay Ann, ipatutupad nila sa kanilang kumpanya ang polisiya na AI First kung saan magkakaroon sila ng minor tweaks sa work procedures ng Duolingo. Sa kabila nito, tiniyak ni Ann na mananatiling prioridad pa rin ng kumpanya ang kapakanan ng kanilang mga empleyado. Paglilinaw ni Ann, ang inisyatibong ito ay hindi tuwirang papalitan ang mga pisikal na empleyado, kundi kanilang aalisin ang mga bottlenecks para makafocus ang kanilang mga empleyado sa creatives at pag-solve sa mga problema at hindi sa paulit-ulit na mga tasks. Samantala, manatili pa rin nakatutok, magbabalik pa po ang Mata ng Agila International.
Trask?
Matagumpay ang pagtatapos ni Tyrese Haliburton para sa Indiana Pacers na nag-secure ng kanilang pagpasok sa round 2 ng NBA playoffs habang dinominahan naman ni Jamal Murray ang Denver Nuggets sa kanilang laban sa Los Angeles Clippers. Si Kyle Lara uli para sa play-by-play.
Inakala ni Tyrese Haliburton na huli na ang lahat para sa Pacers sa pagsapit ng fourth quarter. Ngunit ipinakita niya na he's just warming up para sa isang pinaka-memorable na finisher sa kasaysayan ng franchise. Pinilit ng Indiana ang dalawang turnovers sa huling 29 seconds ng overtime at nalampasan ni Haliburton si Giannis Antetokounmpo para sa isang one last push layup. Naipasok niya ito na may 1.3 seconds pang natitira na sinigurado ng Pacers na wala nang makakalusot sa kanilang tagumpay. Nagtapos ang Indiana-Milwaukee showdown sa isang 4-1 series victory para sa playoffs na may final score ng 119-118. Nanaig ang reigning most overrated NBA player ng 26 points at 10 assists sa kanyang improvement sa 9-0 home wins ng playoffs. Kasabay niya si Miles Turner na may 21 points at 9 rebounds habang si Aaron Nesmith ay dumagdag ng 19 points at 12 rebounds para sa Pacers. Sa pagsubok ni Giannis na bawiin ang kanyang short-handed Bucks, nakamit pa rin niya ang 30 points, 20 rebounds at 13 assists. Kasabay niya si Gary Trent Jr. na may 33 points at gumawa ng 4 for 8 sa kanyang 3-point dimes. Nakatakda ang kanilang unang paghaharap laban sa top-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers sa Sunday para sa Eastern Conference Semifinals.
To come back from 22 down, the Clippers raised their tempo.
Samantala, nanaig naman si Jamal Murray para sa Denver Nuggets nang maging unang player sa history of the NBA na umabot ng 43 plus points sa isang playoff game habang nagpasok lamang ng iilang free-throw.
Murray sticks the landing on a three ball.
Nanalo ang Nuggets ng dalawang magkasunod na laro para kunin ang 3-2 series lead na kanyang pinangunahan kasabay ni Nikola Jokic at nagtapos na may final score na 131-115. Sa kanilang Game 5 victory laban sa Los Angeles Clippers, nagkamit ang Blue Arrow ng 43 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists at 3 steals na may 17 for 26 from the field at 8 for 14 from the 3. Magbabalik sila sa LA para sa kanilang Game 6 on Thursday. Kyle Lara para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And now Murray.
Inanunsyo naman ng organizers ng Asian Games na magkakaroon ng mixed martial arts para sa susunod na taon. Inaprubahan rin ng kanilang organisasyon ng sports na cricket. Inilahad rin ng Olympic Council of Asia na ang MMA ay mayroong 6 na event nang ito ay kabilang sa discipline class sa ilalim ng combat sports. Inaasahang mayroong 15,000 atleta ang makikilahok rito. Gaganapin ang palisahan nito mula September 19 hanggang October 4 sa Nagoya, Japan.
Lionsgate namigay ng $250,000 para sa trailer launch ng Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Sa isang stunt na kapareho ng eksena sa pelikula, sinorpresa ng Lionsgate ang mga fans sa Times Square sa New York. Nagpakita ang isang billboard ng countdown na nauwi sa pamimigay ng digital cash at ang opisyal na trailer ng Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Habang lumipat ang mensahe mula sa Now You See Me tungo sa Now You Don't, nakatanggap ng text ang mga tao na may kasamang instant cash prizes at link sa trailer. Ang $250,000 giveaway ay bahagi ng creative marketing para sa bagong installment ng sikat na franchise tungkol sa mga ilusyonista na ginagamit ang kanilang talento sa pagnanakaw. Kasama rin ang mga bagong cast members na sina Ariana Greenblatt, Justice Smith at Dominic Sessa. Ang pelikula ay pagbibidahan ni Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher at Dave Franco bilang Four Horsemen na ipapalabas sa November 14, 2025.
At nagtagpo naman po sa unang pagkakataon sina Reggie and Pear, ang Guinness World Records holders para sa pinakamalaki at pinakamaliit na buhay na aso. Inorganisa ng Guinness World Records na nagdiriwang ng 70th anniversary ngayong taon ng event upang ipakita ang pambihirang pagkakaiba sa laki ng dalawang asong ito. Yan po, tignan nyo. Si Reggie, isang 7-year-old na Great Dane mula Idaho, ay may taas at 3 feet at 3 inches. Habang si Pearl naman, isang 4-year-old na Chihuahua mula naman Florida, ay may taas at 3.59 inches. May sukat na halos 3 talampakan ang pagitan nila, kaya't naging tampok sa social media ang mga larawan nila na magkasamang nakatayo sa bahay ni Reggie at sa kanyang bakuran sa Idaho. Ayon sa Guinness, parehong mabait at kalmado ang dalawang aso sa kanilang pagkikita na silalubong ng kasiyahan mula sa kanilang mga fans. Ipinunto rin ng organisasyon na ang pagkakaibang ito ay patunay ng kamanghamanghang diversity sa mundo ng mga alagang hayop. Nina, nakakatuwa naman. Iba-iba yung mga balita natin. Pero silang dalawa, the biggest and the smallest dogs, are both from the United States.
Amazing.
Maghanap nga tayo dito sa kalsada, baka meron tayo pang laban.
Diba? Malay mo yung mga yung mga tinatawag natin mga runt na diba? Genetically talagang sadyang maliit sila.
Tapos, speaking of world news, our friend from Germany, Till Dreiserwert, watched our news last night when we reported about the train problems now in Europe, particularly in Spain and France. And he actually confirmed that even in Germany, there were a lot of problems. For example, a 1-hour trip usually took him like more than 5 hours. So,
wow.
It just goes to show, hindi lang po sa Pilipinas, nagkakaroon ng problema sa buong mundo, even the most developed countries. Ayan. Kaya ngayon, ito good news naman, Nina, dahil bukas libreng sakay.
Ayan, ang kinaganda. May bawi rin naman.
May bawi-bawi din naman.
Parang gusto ko tuloy sumakay bukas.
Sige nga, Nina,
kasi may
subukan
dental
natin.
appointment ang mga bata. Sinasabi ni Kalel na bakit hindi raw kami mag-MRT? Ngayon, pinag-iisipan ko tuloy.
Yan.
Parang banayad naman.
Diba? Sige nga, subukan mo.
Babalitaan
kasi wala masyadong, walang bukas.
Yun na nga, dahil walang labor sa araw ng Labor Day.
Diba? Pero sige, tingin natin. Sabi ako sa inyo.
Sige, sige. Naku, mag-mask ka, Ricky. Baka pagkaguluhan ka doon, ma-traffic tayo.
Ikaw, Madam Nina, wag ka mag-high heels. Dahil kahit naka-flats ka, kitang-kita yung kagandahan.
Ay, naku po.
Ayan, so ayan po, magkita-kita tayo ulit bukas. At tandaan na narito kami para maghatid ng balita sa amang dako na mundo. Magandang gabi. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito po ang Mata ng Agila International. At para po sa mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa NET25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. In our news, tensions between nuclear-armed neighbors, Pakistan and India, are escalating rapidly. Pakistan is now reporting that it has credible intelligence suggesting that India intends to launch military action soon.
Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends carrying out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours on the pretext of baseless and concocted allegations of involvement in the Pahalgam incident.
And the news starts now. First in our news, tensions between nuclear-armed neighbors, Pakistan and India, are escalating rapidly. Pakistan is now reporting that it has credible intelligence suggesting that India intends to launch military action soon. And this comes in the wake of a deadly attack on tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir on April 22nd. Now, in that attack, assailants reportedly separated men, identified those who were Hindu and then shot them at close range in the Pahalgam area. The attack left 26 people dead. India has identified the attackers, including 2 Pakistani nationals, as terrorists involved in the ongoing conflict in Kashmir. Pakistan, meanwhile, denies any role in the attack and is calling for a neutral investigation. These 2 nations, born out of the partition of British colonial India in 1947, have already taken retaliatory measures against each other. India has suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, a crucial river sharing agreement, and Pakistan has closed its airspace to Indian airlines. Pakistan is claiming that it has credible intelligence indicating that India plans military action in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends carrying out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours on the pretext of baseless and concocted allegations of involvement in the Pahalgam incident. Pakistan reiterates that any such military adventurism by India would be responded to assuredly and decisively.
So far, there has been no official response from India's foreign and defense ministries. The international community is increasingly concerned about the potential for further escalation.
Still believe and very firmly believe that nuke will not be an option, because it will destroy both countries, This is an option only in the case our existence is in a very, very precarious situation and there is a direct threat to our existence. But in normal armed conflict, I think both the countries should refrain from using the nuclear option,
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has spoken with both Indian and Pakistani leaders.
The Secretary General also expressed his deep concern at the rising tensions between India and Pakistan, and he also underscored the need to avoid a confrontation that could result in tragic consequences.
The U.S. has also urged both nations to refrain from escalating tensions.
So we are reaching out regarding the Kashmir situation, India and Pakistan, that he said we are reaching out to both parties and telling, of course, them to not escalate the situation. The Secretary expects to speak with the foreign ministers of Pakistan and India as early as today or tomorrow. He is encouraging other national leaders, other foreign ministers, to also reach out to the countries on this issue.
Britain has called for a calm within its Indian and Pakistani communities and has advised against all travel to Jammu and Kashmir except in certain limited circumstances. Switching gears now, let's head on to Sweden, where tragedy struck in Uppsala after a masked gunman opened fire in the city center. Take a look. Swedish police have arrested a suspect in connection with Tuesday's shooting in Uppsala that left 3 people dead. The suspect, a minor under 18, was taken into custody on Wednesday and is facing murder charges as part of an ongoing investigation involving several individuals. The shooting occurred at a hair salon in the city center, and authorities have described the incident as isolated and unrelated to the Spring Festival scheduled to begin on Wednesday. The victims, reportedly aged between 15 and 20, have not been fully identified, but local media suggest the attack may be linked to gang violence, a growing concern in Sweden. Police have assured the public that a significant presence will be maintained during the upcoming fest, advising attendees to remain vigilant but continue with their plans.
It doesn't make me feel good. Again, my fingers crossed that nobody had died, that it was, not that acts of violence of any kind are good, but it's made the worse when you know that people are dead, unfortunately.
The suspect fled the scene initially on a scooter, but was later apprehended. Authorities continue to investigate the motive and are questioning multiple people connected to the case. This tragic event adds to a recent rise in gun-related violence in Sweden, prompting government efforts to strengthen laws and crack down on gang activity. We now go to Canada for a report on the devastating incident that occurred during a Lapu-Lapu Day celebration in Vancouver. Marjorie Quintos speaks with those affected by the tragedy, which claimed the lives of 11 people and injured dozens more. Marjorie.
A few days after tragedy hit Vancouver, when a car rammed into a crowd of spectators of Lapu-Lapu Day, killing 11 people and injuring dozens more, we asked neighbors and friends here in Canada how they feel about the incident. For Quebec restaurant supervisor and vlogger Arnold Oligo, no words can capture how he feels for those impacted by the tragedy. One thing he stresses, however, is the importance of unity moving forward.
The tragedy during the Lapu-Lapu Festival in Vancouver is truly devastating. It's hard to put into words the sorrow and shock that this event has brought to the community. Festivals like this are meant to be a time of joy, connection, and cultural pride. Yet it became a moment of profound grief. I can't begin to imagine the pain that the victims' families are experiencing. We must remind ourselves of the importance of standing together, not just in mourning, but in action.
Meanwhile, social media sales manager Soc de Mesa calls on the Filipino community to look after each other in this very trying time.
Hinihikayat ko po ang lahat na magpakita ng pakikiisa kahit sa simpleng pananalangin o donasyon sa mga verified na fundraising efforts para sa mga biktima sa panahon ng ganitong trahedya. Kailangan natin ang isa't isa sa kabila ng lahat ay naniniwala akong hindi mawawala ang diwa ng bayanihan at pagmamahalan sa ating komunidad.
Welder Nelbert Abella is angry and hurt with the thought it could have been his family too. Abella says in one blink, happy spectators died a senseless death.
Sobrang shock po, syempre. Ako nun, lalo na nung nalaman ko na may nadamay na bata. At tao pa ba yung gumawa nito? Awang-awa ko dun sa mga nadamay. Alam mo yun, yung gusto mo lang namang magsaya, maibsan yung pagod na naramdaman mo dito sa napaka-busy buhay dito sa Canada. Tapos isang iglap lang, wala na yung mga mahal mo sa buhay. Kung malapit lang yung event dito sa lugar namin, siguro nandun din kami.
Manny Bautista from Edmonton underscores the need for risk assessment during large-scale events.
Sa akin po ay gusto ko sanang i-suggest at i-share yung aking ideas how to prevent this kind of tragedy in the future. The first one is asking for all the Filipino event organizers and leaders na sa susunod po, every time may event tayo, kailangan may tinatawag tayong risk assessment. Pag-aralan natin ano yung importante, seguridad. Sino yung mga mamumuno sa security?
Stephanie Valenzuela, who has family and friends in Vancouver, says her heart's broken.
Devastated. Heartbroken po kami. Yung buong pamilya namin, we had family in Vancouver and we are just completely heartbroken with the tragedy that took place in Vancouver, and we are sending all our love, our prayers, and our strength to the community in Vancouver.
Al Abdon, chairman of the Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal, never thought something like this could happen in Canada.
Well, it's really shocking na mangyari yun dito sa Vancouver. Of all the place is Vancouver. It's a peaceful city, and it's supposed to be a peaceful gathering. And the worst is the Filipino community was the victim of this disastrous event.
With victims aging from 5 to 65, the communities here still grapple for answers as to why a supposedly fun-filled and family-friendly celebration turned into what was described as one of the darkest days in the city's history. Marjorie Quintos, Montreal, Canada for NET25 World News.
It was a night many in Missouri won't soon forget. Powerful storms barreled through the state, leaving behind a trail of damaged homes, battered businesses, and a shaken community. Take a look. Here in Willard, just outside Springfield, residents woke up to scenes of chaos. Trees were uprooted, power lines dangled dangerously, and roofs were torn apart. The local airport wasn't spared either. Officials say winds clocked in at over 90 miles per hour, sending debris flying and forcing flight delays. Here's Jerry Booth, a longtime Willard resident, as he surveyed the damage to his neighbor's home. A massive tree had crashed through the roof.
I just kept praying that it wouldn't get as bad as it finally got. You couldn't hardly see anything because it was so foggy. We feel fortunate, and our neighbors have a lot of damage, but they're all alive.
Many are grateful that despite the destruction, their families and neighbors made it through the night safely. But the work is just beginning. Emergency crews are out in force, clearing roads and restoring power to tens of thousands left in the dark. Local officials are urging everyone to stay home if they can, as many streets are still blocked by fallen trees and debris. Governor Mike Kehoe has already asked for federal assistance as communities across Missouri begin the long process of cleaning up and rebuilding. For now, people here are taking stock, helping each other and hoping the worst is over. A sandstorm that swept across parts of Basra and Najaf in Iraq Tuesday night is the latest climate-related challenge to affect the country. The storm caused near-zero visibility, forcing police to direct traffic through thick fog. While hundreds were hospitalized for suffocation, no serious injuries were reported. The incident comes as Iraq faces increasing threats from drought and extreme temperatures, conditions that are making significant portions of the country nearly uninhabitable during the summer months. Staying in the country, where Bulusan volcano in Sorsogon has erupted again, sending ash plumes high into the sky and prompting authorities to raise the alert level. The Philippine Volcano Agency reported a phreatic eruption just after 7:40 Tuesday evening. Residents nearby heard rumbling sounds as a thick ash plume shot up nearly 4,500 meters above the crater, drifting westward. Because of this activity, officials have raised the alert level to level 1, which means low-level unrest. But it's a clear sign the volcano could erupt again at any time. In fact, there were nearly 90 volcanic earthquakes recorded in the past day alone. Local communities are being urged to stay out of the 4-kilometer danger zone around the crater. Some barangays have already experienced ash fall, and emergency teams are distributing masks and supplies to help residents cope. The Philippine Coast Guard is also on standby, ready to assist if needed. Authorities are closely watching the situation, especially with local elections coming up, and they're reminding everyone to stay alert, follow safety instructions. In the United States, President Trump is downplaying concerns about his tariff policy, even as businesses grapple with the consequences. We'll take a closer look at the conflicting messages coming from the White House. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
On his 100th day in office, Trump boasted about how he's brought down the cost of living since he took over.
Since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Fact-checking reveals many of his claims are exaggerated and in some cases false. The most that Trump will admit to is that there will be what he calls a transition period when tariffs take effect. But he offers no insight as to how severe that will be or how long the transition period will last. Instead, he pivots to his grievances that every country in the world has treated the U.S. unfairly. As far as his 145% tariffs on Chinese imports, Trump again suggests that China, not American consumers, will pay the import tax.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States.
In his policy, Trump is offering car manufacturers a mix of credits and relief from other levies. Now, this comes just days before a fresh set of 25% import taxes are set to kick in on automotive parts.
We just wanted to help them during this little transition, short term, and during this little, if they can't get parts, you know, it has to do with a very small percentage. If they can't get parts, we didn't want to penalize them. and they have a 1-year period and then they have an extra year, but it's for a very, very small part of the car. Basically, they're paying 25%.
This constant adjustment of his trade policy is taking a toll on the ability of businesses to do long-term planning. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says all of the chaos over the ever-changing tariff policy, well, it's all part of Trump's master plan.
I think one thing that has been a little disconcerting for the markets is, President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people.
But this strategy is creating unease in the business community. Many businesses have canceled orders because of the tariffs, and there are fears that Americans will soon be facing empty store shelves as imported goods stop arriving at U.S. ports. Bessent doesn't believe that will happen.
I wouldn't think that we would have supply chain shocks, and I think retailers they have managed their inventory in front of this. I speak to dozens of companies, sometimes daily, but definitely weekly, and they know that President Trump is committed to fair trade and have planned accordingly.
Despite the rosy picture the Trump administration paints, the harsh reality is many American companies are planning to cut jobs to lower costs. The next victims could be dock workers on the U.S. West Coast. Fewer ships are arriving from Asia, and there will be fewer containers to unload. The Los Angeles port alone expects a 35% drop in cargo from Asia next week. Other ports could face similar decreases in traffic. Shipping lines have increased the number of cancellations of scheduled voyages and in many cases skipped ports. For the last 100 days, economists, the business community, and others have warned about this situation. The White House prefers not to listen and has chosen to ignore the experts. Thomas Hylikeness, NET25 World News.
We now go to Europe, where a major power failure has brought Spain and Portugal to a virtual standstill. The focus is now on understanding how this unprecedented blackout occurred, with investigations underway and officials ruling out some causes while exploring others. Beverly Madrid reports from Spain. We now go to Europe, where a major power failure has brought Spain and Portugal to a virtual standstill. The focus is now on understanding how this unprecedented blackout occurred, with investigations underway and officials ruling out some causes while exploring others. Beverly Madrid reports from Spain.
From our European desk, we have a developing story out of the Iberian Peninsula. On Monday, a massive power outage brought Spain and Portugal to a virtual standstill, triggering a national emergency in Spain. We're talking about grounded planes, halted public transportation, and even hospitals forced to postpone routine operations. The scale of this blackout is truly significant, something rarely seen in Europe. While the exact cause remains under investigation, the finger pointing has already begun. Portugal initially suggested the issue originated in Spain, while Spanish authorities are pointing to a disruption in their connection with France.
The usual sort of initiator, let's say, is some kind of fault. So it might be that a source of power, a generator, trips, maybe because of some sort of technical problem. It could be that a branch of the network trips. It might be because of a short circuit that's weather related, for example, a lightning strike, or it's high winds cause the conductors to kind of move around, and they kind of get too close and there's a short circuit. Sometimes very extreme winds cause a conductor to, off an overhead line, to fall. Again, short circuit. So it's usually something like that. And then in terms of, transmission networks are operated such that a single fault event, like one of those things, wouldn't actually cause a big problem. They're operated with what's called N-1 security, so that there is some margin. The system can sort of absorb these changes.
Portuguese Prime Minister Luis Montenegro has stated there's no indication of a cyber attack being the cause of the blackout, which began mid-morning yesterday. However, in a sign of the seriousness of the situation, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez revealed he had spoken with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte amid swirling rumors of possible sabotage.
What people should be clear about is that the Spanish government is going to get to the bottom of this matter and that the necessary reforms and measures are going to be taken to ensure that this does not happen again. And we are obviously going to hold all private operators accountable.
Sanchez described the staggering loss of 15 gigawatts of electricity generation in a mere 5 seconds. That's equivalent to 60% of Spain's national demand. He emphasized that technicians are working urgently to understand this unprecedented sudden drop.
So far, it's extremely rare to happen in Europe. So we, in a decade, we have it maybe a handful of time or less. So in this size of affected an entire system, and here 2 countries essentially are entirely blacked out, that happens extremely rarely. And I urge some patience here. In other cases, it has often taken several months to understand what the root cause of the issue was. What we understand is after the root cause essentially triggered some oscillations in the power grid, at some moment demand and supply installations started to decouple in an automatic way, and when one installation decouples, the frequency drops further, then another installation decouples, and then within essentially a second the entire system goes down. So we understand what happens after the frequency limits are breached, but we do not fully understand yet what was the initial trigger of that. The big challenge is now still understanding what has been the initial problem in the system, and if we understand that, we can certainly address that.
It's worth noting that Spain's energy mix includes a significant portion of renewable energy, with about 43% coming from wind and solar, alongside nuclear power at 20% and fossil fuels at 23%, according to the energy think tank Ember. Reporting from Spain, this is Beverly Madrid for NET25 World News.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
An experiment. Can this converted Porsche 911 climb the world's highest volcano located in Chile? And can it do so using synthetic fuel, known as e-fuel, in a standard combustion engine? The car reaches the top, 6,734 meters above sea level. Left.
Meta is stepping up its AI game. At its inaugural Lamicon Developer Conference, the company unveiled a new AI assistant app designed to deliver more natural and personalized interactions. With expressive voice features and integration with social media platforms, Meta aims to redefine how we engage with artificial intelligence. Take a look.
Facebook parent Meta has set out its next moves on AI. Boss Mark Zuckerberg took the stage in California during the company's first conference for artificial intelligence developers. He revealed a new application programming interface, or API, which allows programmers to more easily build AI products using Meta's Llama model. Zuckerberg said they would be able to customize and integrate the best bits of rival bots.
So if another model, like if DeepSeek is better, or if Quen is better at something, then now as developers, you have the ability to take kind of the best parts of the intelligence from the different models and produce exactly what you need, which I think is going to be very powerful.
Meta didn't say what it would charge for the new tool, which is currently available as a preview for select customers. Rival OpenAI, creator of ChatGPT, makes most of its revenue from such APIs. Tuesday also saw Meta launch a new standalone AI assistant app. Chief Product Officer Chris Cox said a priority was to make the new bot sound natural.
We were very focused on the voice experience, the most natural possible interface. So we focused a lot on low latency, highly expressive voice.
Reuters has previously reported that Meta plans to test a paid subscription service for its AI chatbot in the second quarter.
Now today, Vietnam marked a historic milestone, 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War, with grand celebrations in Ho Chi Minh City, the former Saigon. Take a look. Thousands lined the streets for a military parade featuring over 13,000 participants, including troops from Vietnam, China, Laos, and Cambodia. The spectacle included an air show with Russian-made Su-30 Mk2 fighter jets and helicopters soaring above the Independence Palace, the site of the 1975 victory. This day commemorates April 30, 1975, when North Vietnamese forces captured Saigon, leading to the reunification of the country and the end of a conflict that claimed millions of lives. Despite past hostilities, Vietnam and the U.S. normalized relations in 1995 and have since strengthened ties, though recent trade tensions have emerged.
In a world of increasingly complex and unpredictable developments, and as a nation having suffered so much losses and pain from past wars, we are deeply aware of the value of peace, independence, and freedom. As such, we must continue to strengthen and modernize Vietnam's national defense and security, and build an all-people national defense service for peace and self-defense, in order to steadfastly defend the fatherland at an early stage and from afar, while the country is yet in danger.
From the battlefields of Vietnam to the ongoing struggle against its deadly remnants, one man's story offers a unique perspective on the war's legacy. We look at the work of a former U.S. intelligence analyst who is now helping Vietnam deal with the devastating problem of unexploded ordnance as the country marks 50 years since the war's end.
More than 5 decades ago, Chuck Searcy was a U.S. intelligence analyst during the Vietnam War in what was then called Saigon. Today, he is again living in Ho Chi Minh City, but this time he's fighting a different war against unexploded mines. On Wednesday, the communist-run country celebrates 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. And for Searcy, that day remains a vivid memory.
On April 30th, 1975, when the tanks crashed through the gates of the presidential palace and the war was over, I was in the U.S. I was watching it on TV. And it really brought tears to my eyes because it was emotional for me because it was such a huge relief, like a terrible burden lifted off my shoulders that the war, this terrible event in history, had come to an end.
Though Searcy had returned to the US, he was back in Vietnam by 1995, when then US President Bill Clinton announced a normalization of ties between the two countries. Here he is speaking at the time.
It's time for us to really put the war behind us and those years of differences and isolation and form a partnership for the future.
The Vietnam War lasted for 2 decades and killed nearly 3 million Vietnamese on both sides. 60,000 Americans also died, many of them young soldiers drafted by their government. And a painful legacy of the conflict also persists.
Specifically, bombs and mines, which have killed and injured more than 100,000 Vietnamese since the war ended in 1975. Also Agent Orange, which has caused terrible misery for so many thousands of families.
In Vietnam, Searcy co-founded Project Renew, which aims to help people gravely injured by mines and teach children to stay away from them. It also deploys teams of deminers to clear the country from unexploded ordnances left from the 5 to 8 million tons dropped by the US during the war.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.
This program